All right. Welcome, everybody. So here we are again, having fun. This is May 11th, 2023 here at TXRX. We appreciate them giving us space and everything. And it's going to be really exciting tonight, hearing both from Chris George and Ryan Callahan about the things that they've got going on. Of course, I got to thank both Colin and Emma for all the work they did last month when we had our Drive Electric Earth Day events. Thanks so much, you two. That was great. Yeah, I can give them a hand here. Yeah. Yes, yes. So I know a lot goes into that, and we heard all kinds of good things from people. So it's always fun to talk to new people. It's good to see the folks here in the room and see folks online. So if you have any questions online while our speakers are talking, feel free to put them into the chat, and then we'll get to those questions as we can. And we're working on some speakers for things coming up here this summer. And so every second Thursday of the month, please come on out. So first we'll have a short presentation by Chris, and he's over at OctoEnergy. And so let me call up again what I got here. And it's been great communicating with Chris and coordinating on things with him. And Chris has over 10 years of experience across electric vehicles, software, and sustainability. So this is perfect because, of course, all of us are concerned with where the electricity for our EVs come from. Talking with Eric again on the way in here, we were carpooling, and he's still trying to recover from that tornado and get all of his PV back online. So it was really fortunate that he could get half of it online again with his brother's help really quickly. But he's still waiting to get the other back. But as we were talking about carpooling coming in, he's looking at a silver lining that he can get more powerful panels to replace the panels that were wrapped around the bus stop 3 houses down the street because of that hurricane wind. Yeah. So back to Chris. Sorry, I digressed there. So Chris was a U.S. EV director for Octopus electric vehicles in the U.S., and he created the nation's first on-bill financing of an EV, established a successful EV leasing program as a retailer, and launched flexible charging solutions for EV drivers in Texas. Prior to joining Octopus, Chris started and ran Houston's public-private partnership, which aimed to improve the region's air quality through electrification of the transportation system. His team helped develop the region's first EV charging strategy, participated and led various regional and statewide efforts to increase public charging adoption, and worked with the state's largest fleets to solidify their electrification strategy. So anytime I hear about electrification strategy, I get excited. I mean, it's like, we've all been kind of, bouncing this way, that way. We hear different things going on around the world, but to have a strategy is great. So Chris, if you want to come on up, we'll put your slides up here. And okay, are they going out online to everybody, Colin? Yeah, okay. So I can change slides.
Sure.
You can take the mic out of the stand.
That'll be
easier.
All right. So Chris George, Octopus Energy. We run our EV business. We have kind of a multifaceted approach to EVs. We lease electric vehicles, which is interesting. We're a retailer. And then we also have what I'll probably talk to most in this presentation, flexible charging rates and features for electric vehicle drivers. And I'll get into the details of that. I'm not going to go into V2G necessarily on this discussion. We can talk about it if we'd like, but I think the near term interesting opportunity for us is load flexibility. And, we can demonstrate some pretty interesting things with that. So I'll give you an overview right here. We're a tech company. We use tech to, decarbonize the planet, and we drive most of that tech through our software platform called Kraken. That's kind of the backbone of everything we do. It handles everything from customers, which is key and one of our differentiators as a retailer, to trading to leasing, which I'll talk to next. And this is a little out of date. We've grown actually since this, But just to give you an idea, like we're, Octopus is a UK based company. We're one of the largest retailers in the UK. One of our first outposts outside of UK is Houston, Texas. Crazy. We have more than 5 million customers globally. That's retail customers. We also license our platform to friends and competitors, and they have on that platform 24 million customers, which is interesting. We own generation as well. So that number is a little out of date. It's over 4, it's over 5 now, I believe. Valuation is fine. And we're now in, actually, we're probably in more than 9 countries. I think we're in 13. So part of the group is, well, within the group, you have OctoEnergy, the group, and then under that, you have Kraken, which is our software licensing business. You have a retail arm, you have the assets and generation arm. We have a couple of others, and then we have the electric vehicle side of the business. So as of today, we are leasing roughly, 7,500 vehicles in the UK. That's in 18 months going from 0 to 7,500. And then we've got a lot of vehicles on order. I don't even know if those numbers are precise today, but they're pretty close. So in the UK, what we offer is a little different than what we offer in the US. We'll offer through a thing called salary sacrifice. Essentially, you can pay for your vehicle through your employer pre-tax. And so since you're taxed a considerable amount over there, you get a considerable discount on your EV lease. And we found that to be incredibly popular for a number of reasons, price being another one. And then just to touch on this kind of like feeds into Kraken, so to speak. In the US, we actually, I believe, we're the first ever to do this. We're a retailer. We've been leasing vehicles to consumers. We can put your lease on your energy bill. So you get a line item for your energy charge. Below that, you've got your discounts and such. Below that, you've got an EV lease. So as you'll see in the presentation, as I move forward, it unlocks some really interesting things with flexibility and affordability for energy consumers. Next. This is, more on the EV leasing. We don't need to go into this, but, effectively we lease a car, we bake in the home charger and installation, work on incentive and rebates, and we give you a great experience. And this is just a snapshot of, your typical bill and your EV lease details. This person has a Volkswagen ID4. They get an annual mileage allotment, and then you've got your charge there. Next. Yep. So, we're leasing, we're doing that, but we're also making smart charging flexible. To the next one. So I'm going to give you a backdrop. So we've been doing some, I think as a group in the UK, some really innovative things for quite a while. So in 2018, we launched Octopus Agile, which we now call Agile Octopus, but you can forgive us for that. And I think the takeaway from, y'all are probably all familiar with these curves and demand lines, but we were able to move 28% of demand simply by users deciding when to turn off charging, right? And this is like a very manual thing, just texting customers saying, hey, please shift your EV charging. To the next one, which you'll see is kind of the evolution of that. The following year, we did something very similar. So if you go to the next slide. Oop. Well, effectively what we did, I'll tell you, is we did what's called a time of use rate. I forget what the name is. I wasn't with Octopus at the time, but I can tell you what we did. Okay, yeah, Octopus Go. So Octopus Go is effectively, they get their supply from Octopus during a specified window. You get a cheaper rate during the off-peak hours. In the UK, it was from 12:30 to 4:30 a.m. we have had a product, which I'll talk about on the next slide. And this is all about shifting energy consumption with your EV. We're putting more EVs on the grid, therefore, we need to figure out how to manage it. So, but we had questions about TOUs. So I think TOUs were really novel and really interesting, right? There's a big gap that you see, overnight between demand and load. And so what we thought was offering customers incentive to charge during those off-peak hours was going to be a boon for them because it offered them discount, and it was going to be a boon for us because we could de-risk our purchasing. Fun fact, this is a dive we did. We found that Octopus EV owners, and this is on the Octo Drive, which was formerly our TOU rate, they consumed twice as much energy as the average Texas home when they weren't charging their EVs. So I think that's just an interesting data point to say, okay, who's driving EVs right now? It's potentially people either with bigger homes, more money, and or both. I don't know if they have good or bad energy habits, but just thought an interesting data point. So we'll go to the next one. But when we looked into the data a little deeper, we found that actually customers weren't taking advantage of the TOU like we had anticipated and or hoped, and maybe even they had anticipated or hoped. So we found that I like to call it compliance. It's like a bad word to use for it, but I think it communicates still what I'm trying to communicate. So 50% of their charging took place out of that time of use window. And I think for a number of reasons that happened because and I'm speculating because I haven't asked the customers yet, but I'm planning to. But I think, it could be for a number of reasons. One is, and I do this all the time. I get home and I'm like, shoot, I need to wait for that window, and I forget to plug it in, and then I plug it in, right? And you could obviously set a schedule on your car to do this, which I think a lot of people do. But sometimes people's lives just get in the way and you forget to do things, right? Or you need a charge right then and there. And maybe this is a behavior that is actually normal to you, but it's not normal to that very finite specific window of a TOU. And so, we found some other interesting data points. Customers are charging roughly 7 times per month with their EV on Octo Drive. And for our EV customers, the average customer drove 5,000 to 7,500 miles annually. So, I can ascertain from that data or those data that potentially these people are using this as a second car, and or they're living, and I have some more geographic data that I didn't put in here, and or they're living, in proximity to a city center. So they're driving less, potentially charging less.
Number of miles based on the power they're drawing
That is.
home.
That is.
So that doesn't include any trip miles where they're using
Correct.
fast charge.
Correct. So I have a that's not the average. There's a baked in, allotment for people who take trips.
Number per year, but that doesn't include any trips.
Sure. But if it's a second vehicle as well, that could be, they could be using that for road trips. That's what, we have to do sometimes.
In England, right?
This is actually Texas data. Yeah. Sorry to differentiate. So all the data I'm showing you now after the 2019 data is actually what we did here. Okay. So next. Well, no, okay. Sorry, these are just customers who are on our energy plan. They call it tariff in the UK. They use a lot of very interesting words. All vehicles. Yeah, and I'll differentiate, right? So the leasing has only been going on for 6 months. And then the energy business has been here for over 1.5 years, 2 years. Yeah. So we decided to offer a set it and forget it feature to help. So I for whatever reason, like this resonates with me. Is anybody familiar with this guy? Like one of the most famous infomercials of all time. Basically, you put like meat on a spit, you put it in his, full titanium roasting basket, and it cooks your meat perfectly. But that was his saying. And this guy came up with a lot of like very powerful, one-liners that resonate with a specific action or an industry or an individual. But for some reason, set it and forget it like really resonates with me. I don't know if it resonates with you. You can tell me after. So we decided to offer a set it and forget it model for charging your vehicle. So Intelligent Octopus, we use Kraken, like I was talking about, our platform, to intelligently manage your the charging of your vehicle. In addition to that, we offer $30 a month discount to our customers. So what we ask the customers to do is enroll your vehicle, irrespective of your charger. This is what's exciting. Like previously, we've done integrations directly with chargers, and it's a barrier to getting the most customers onto your product, right? And so we can integrate directly with your vehicle and tell it when to turn on and off. If you're familiar with telemetry, it's a very simple, command that you can use to turn the vehicle's charging on and off. Enroll your vehicle. This is the process. I thought it'd be better to illustrate it here. You put in your preferences, right? So when do you want your vehicle charged by every day, and by how much, right? Do you want it to go to 80% or 77% per the manufacturer's recommendations? Do you want it to go to 100% because tomorrow you're going on a road trip? We allow you to set all of those settings in there, and then set it and forget it. You come home, you plug your vehicle in, and Intelligent Octopus does the rest. So going back to those graphs that I showed, typically we see the curve. We all know that the various types of curves, and I guess it depends on the state too. Most people think that charging in that window is sufficient. Well, for us, like I said, we found that 50% of our customers weren't doing that. So how can we enable them to, one, take advantage of the full discount? So, make your energy bill cheaper, which I think everybody wants to do. But two, make sure that your vehicle is ready to go when it is. And so what we do, and I think the next slide will illustrate this, is we charge your vehicle when energy is cheapest and greenest. It's literally that simple. So there could be a point in the day when solar is just booming and we've got to, go after it. Charge your vehicle. We do it all for you. If it's plugged in, we'll charge it, right? We'll try to take advantage to the extent we can when it's cheapest and greenest. Counter to that, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so we integrate with the manufacturer, and when you enroll it, you give us permission to use the various authority to one, read your percentage. I mean, it's actually I'd say it's like quite simple. There's not a lot that goes on there, but it's at least on the vehicle integration front. So it's the percentage, so how much your vehicle's charged. We actually do need to know the amperage of your charger so that we're not sending too much or too little to your vehicle. And then we need to be able to shut on and off the charging. But what that allows us to do is be more agile and flexible with the load, which for us, when we're buying energy to support your, when we're hedging for you as a customer or a group of customers, this becomes really, really interesting and compelling to us. And, for us, we're not just giving you that $30 and like hoping that it shows up and you stay a customer forever. Like we're seeing a benefit and we're passing that on to the customer, which I think is really exciting. Conversely, like if for whatever reason that time of use window, which maybe one day it will not be a good window to charge in, we'll turn your vehicle charging off by then. We can obviously, I think the goal or the North Star for us is to make sure that when you're getting in your vehicle, on that schedule, you have exactly how much charge you need. I think that's really important. Like for all those who drive EVs, it would be a bummer to show up and be like, oh, I didn't charge my vehicle because it wasn't cheap. And I've got to drive to Galveston to go to the park or whatever it is, right? We put you in a really good position. And I think it's kind of like only the tip of the iceberg for us, as you'll see, because now what, right? So we're leasing vehicles. We've got this integrated lease experience where you can put your EV lease on your bill, and then you're seeing direct savings from your vehicle that's being charged by us on your bill. And everything is kind of working in concert with each other. So what does that mean for other products that you either likely have? We're talking about someone's solar being wrapped around a bus depot. We, you know, and we're imagining putting all these things on your bill at some point, right? So we do thermostats at the moment. But having your heat pump, which we do heat pumps in the UK, we manufacture them, crazy. You know, your heat pump, your storage, your solar, your EV. You know, like the vision is to potentially have a zero bill over 12 months, right? And it's kind of a fun thing to think about when you're talking about electrifying so many things that are in your house and in your life. But I think we can potentially do it with Intelligent Octopus. And you can read the bullets, I'll read them, you know, optimize around customer controls and preferences. Like I said, that's number one. If it doesn't meet your preferences, like it's not a good product. Distributing and intelligently managing heat pumps in the home. This is something, you know, that one's incentivized heavily by the IRA, but is also potentially really interesting technology that could work for a ton of people in the US. Intelligent managed solar and battery, we talked about that. And obviously with V to G and all sorts of arbitrage that comes along with that and your EV in the future. There's some excitement around that, taking feed from weather forecasts, yada, yada. Like I said, you can read. So this is kind of the future of Octopus. This is where we're going. We're playing in a lot of these I'd say areas already. I think the magic is when they all come together and you can offer, you know, a customer some sort of pretty seamless integrated experience. And I think that's probably the last one.
So thinking about getting customers, going to like a whole neighborhood and trying to get, you know, 100 houses all together, because it seems like it'd be awful hard to just pick up one person here, one person there.
Are you talking about no, I mean, this is anyone in the deregulated market right now. Yeah. In Texas.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's available, but if you only go after current EV owners, I mean, I think that, you know, you hear about all these projections.
Yeah.
You know, there's gonna be a lot more EV owners, you know, coming in into
Sure.
the next 10 years. So that's why I think if you went into a neighborhood and just got every house signed up who's willing to.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we do have these incredible referral programs from the energy side of the business, and on my EV business as well. We're building those out, right? So if you drive a vehicle and you send them to me, you know, send your friends to me. Like if you know, they like your Rivian or they like your Tesla or your Bolt, whatever it is, we will compensate you for that. Same as if, you know, a friend of yours signs up for OctoEnergy as a retail customer. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that he asked about tax savings off of paycheck. That's a UK, they call it a scheme. They use the English language in a very different way than we do. Tariff scheme. Anyway, so yeah, so that is eventually going to, that scheme will end at some point, and there will be just your traditional leasing out there. Now there are opportunities, I think, in the leasing business, you know, we don't have to talk too much about it, to potentially take advantage of those opportunities with employers who want their employees to drive EVs. I've got some ideas around that, but yeah, unfortunately it's only in the UK. I wish. Totally. And we do, yeah. Yeah, so, and we have, as a leasing company, we have a lessor license, which means I can lease vehicles. I can also sell new and used vehicles. There's complexities around franchise licenses, which I'm sure, well, the Rivian person in the room knows very well. And then even Tesla people. But yeah, point is we're aiming to be able to offer those incentives, both used vehicles, $4,000 credit, and you know, up to $7,500 credit for new. Sure. Yeah, so we did one of the in fact, I think, Dave, I reached out to you initially because in the UK we did a vehicle, and y'all can go on YouTube and see some of the people who participated in these pilots. Like, they're incredible, the way that they break down how the pilot worked. But effectively, I want to say we did like 100, forget the number, I want to say maybe 100 to 125 Leafs vehicle to grid pilot in the UK. It was wildly successful. People were making money and, sending energy back to the grid. And, frankly, in the US, where we are is it's kind of like I introed this. I think it's like a really sexy, interesting, exciting technology. But right now, whether it's regulatory framework, charging manufacturers' ability to get certain certifications, there's some limitations, right, for us at the moment. I think we're probably closer this year, end of 23, to doing something on that front. There's some interesting companies like OctoEnergy who's doing, they're partnering with building owners to allow people to come and charge or, offload during to do some peak shaving. But for us, like, I can't talk too deep about it, unfortunately. But we like the idea, and we were one of the first to do it, and hopefully we'll be one of the first to do it when it's ready to go.
So there's a question about home backup batteries and solar power. How does Intelligent Octopus leverage those?
Great question. So some of our, first thing when we talk to some of our customers for Intelligent Octopus, as you can imagine, many of them, because they're early adopters, they want to be part of this, have solar, have storage. And so, really right now, and it depends on who you're with and what your solar plan is, whether it's one-to-one or whether it's wholesale buyback, right? Because we don't have a fully integrated yet tariff rate with our flexible rate with EVs, it is potentially better just to stay on that plan until we can bring those into the fold. Okay. But the idea would be to, and this actually goes to V2G. I mean, there's some regulatory restrictions that are not allowing us to do, I think, to harness the full capability of our, of our platform.
V2G in the beginning, you said you'd come back to that. People asked. I think there was another question in the room.
Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. He's got his phone out.
So the thing that tickled my fancy actually is the whole load side management. And I saw a video recently by a YouTube channel called Technology Connections. I don't know if you've seen it. He did a couple of videos that were really interesting on load side management that I found very informative. So I was really curious what kinds of techniques you guys are using that maybe you didn't cover or are thinking about. One of the things he covered was smart breaker panels, where you could put certain loads on a load managed setting, where you could say turn off your electric water heater at certain times of the day, because water heaters are great at retaining energy for long periods of time. So
we're very into that, I would say, and that's part of the Octopus ecosystem that kind of I showed on the last slide. I'd say within like my scope of EV, I'm helping bring these things along. We're also prioritizing, right? So all of the smart products that we're seeing, I was just looking at like a smart vent flow. Have y'all seen this? Really cool technology. Can essentially measure the ambient temperature in a specific room, shut off vents, basically to optimize either energy consumption or comfort. We like all of those products a ton, but there's, like, as some constraints around the ability to do so many things at once. So right now we're focused on EV. We're doing thermostat. We've been doing thermostat for a while. We've got started with the Ecobee, and we've got, I think, like all of the other integrations coming actually very soon, which is exciting because most people have those. And Then on the, like I said, the heat pump side, we're manufacturing in the UK. We're looking to do heat pumps here in the US. Solar side, storage side, we're doing all of that. And then smart appliances, smart everything in the home. That is absolutely the future. But I think the big things are the ones that I mentioned on
So to what
slide.
extent do you use the thermostat control, for example, to store energy in a sense when it's cheap and use it later when it's not? So for example, you could run the heat pump and heat the
Yeah.
a little hotter before energy gets
Sure.
expensive. And then, you have an but
So the thermostat is a good like tool for obviously managing the temperature of the home. It also is, we have a similar, I'll call it a scheme because it's just fun, scheme for thermostats for Intelligent Octopus. So Intelligent Octopus for EVs is a $30 a month discount. We have an additional discount that they're not stackable yet because of rules, but we will change that soon. For your thermostat, you get a $25 a month discount if you let us control the temperature during peak times. So, we're not getting like as granular probably as like the person who's deep in the industry would like really love to see yet, but it's for sure coming. Yeah.
Go too far and on us. So for example, like if you had the big winter storm, you wouldn't want to turn someone's home off and their energy off and let it get too cold in the house. Rather, you prefer to preheat the home so warmer than you'd like, so then you lose energy.
Totally. And that's like, on the roadmap, right? So right now we're doing real-time, I'd say interaction with grid signals. It's like a very generic way of saying it, but that's an illustrative way of saying it. I think in the future, yeah, it's preheat the home, pre-cool the home, let's use as much energy as we can, like in that time of use window, right? And actually, we've talked to a lot of customers, and I don't know if y'all are any of these people, but I have talked to people who get like the free nights and weekends, and you've probably seen on Reddit, they pre-cool their home on the weekends to like, and nights to like 50 something, as low as the thermostat will go. And these people work from home too. So it's very, it's very interesting, but it's really fascinating because I think people like, one, they want to save money. And I think that is clear, like whether it's a $30 discount or whether they want to go to the extreme extent of, like I said, pre-cooling the home, closing all the blinds, turning some fans on and, sweating it out in the middle of the summer, which, no, thank you. But
So the last thing I asked is, I found it really interesting that the folks with EVs have higher electric bills, not counting the EVs. And I'd be really interested in understanding if that is, like you said, bigger homes, or is it because they have a higher percentage of, say, electric appliances like their electric stove and the water heater?
totally.
And, that's their extra draw.
Yeah, I think these are like incredible questions that I'd love to investigate. I think keeping like anonymity for our customers is really, really crucial. But, I also think it's something that our customers would find fascinating to participate in. And so, maybe I will go do that and I will report back. Awesome.
Offering a free energy audit of the house and you say, hey, you could save money here.
I'm going to write that down.
That'd be good.
That's actually a great idea.
During winter months, if it was totally electric home and they had a heat pump and didn't use any natural gas, sure, their electric bill is going to be higher. Than
Totally.
An average home.
Yeah.
Made up gas.
They all have an electric barbecue bed, so they forget it.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, the what is that? The Traeger or the equivalent?
cheese.
I'm not going to go into it.
Okay.
I also want to make sure that we let other people talk.
Okay. All right.
I'll get in trouble.
When you're ready.
Yes. Trust me, we will. When we run our pilot, this is where I'm coming 100%. So I tried running the pilot and then had to back it off a little.
Okay, well, that's the way technology goes.
Yeah, of course.
You go and you explode a few rockets and then you figure out how to not explode them.
That's right.
And then you go. from
Yes.
there. And John's eyes are rolling.
Slightly lower stakes and much less money on my end, I think.
That you launch the rocket to blow it up. We are right now.
There we go.
Got the license.
Trust me, I'm trying. Yeah,
We
this,
hope to see you here also.
yeah, this is great. I love it.
That was great that you were interested in going out and seeing the Rivian.
100%.
And Jason Rockwell brought us, several of us here tonight in,
Amazing.
and so good that you got to see that and
Yeah, thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah, so here, since we are in the part of Texas that you can choose your own rep, retail electric provider. I think that covers like about 90% of Texas. This is great that people can find out what OctoEnergy is doing. And as I said, we'll find out more with when you're ready with the V2G info. Because as I said at the beginning, a lot of the folks, they're interested in where the energy comes from to charge their vehicles. So to get it at the time when there is surplus solar, as you said, during the day or with the wind at night, so far has been pretty much at night in excess. And yeah, some folks may have seen that there was a worrying announcement by one of the Texas energy regulators that this will be the first time that we have to count on producers of electricity that are not dispatchable. So in other words, we've gone over the line such that in order to meet the total requirement expected this summer, we will depend for the first time on some wind and solar. Whereas up until now, of course, all those fossil fuel burning plants have produced. So we have a question on the chat. So for you, Chris, in addition to the charge for electricity purchased by customers, is there a cost for TDU or is that rolled into the rate? So the distribution. All standard retail rates. So that includes the TDU. Yeah. Okay. So the transmission distribution. Yeah. Buyback rate. Wholesale is the buyback rate. Okay. Dynamic. It's the moment, whatever's being replaced for what otherwise the rep would need to be buying off the market. Okay. Good, good, good. Any other questions for Chris? And we can come back to him if he doesn't run out the door or something. Okay. So you can think of questions as we're rolling along here and everything. So, and then after we have Ryan talk, we're going to have Bill present some things and somebody else said they had something else to show maybe as well. We'll see. Because it's always good to have our members presenting what their thoughts are and what they're experimenting with and what hardware they've brought in to show, if any. So, okay. So Ryan, you ready? Come on up and you're going to use your own computer so you can do the slides. Okay. So you can either leave the mic there or
yeah, I'll walk around. It's fine. I can like before I start, like I'll comment on that stuff because it's completely unrelated to what I'm going to present, but I just have like some ideas on what you're asking. Yeah, so I've like set up like using a bunch of customer data, set up like a thermodynamic model of the home on the preheating, pre-cooling. So like I started in the thermostat land and then moved to the EV thing. And we've actually gone away from the preheating and pre-cooling for a couple of reasons. One, like when these really hot and cold things happen, the insulation in Texas houses isn't very good, so you lose it pretty quickly. And so in order to do, and like most of the times when prices are really high, they were pretty high right before. So putting a bunch of extra load into the pre-cooling, so yeah, you could do the 20-degree preheat, right? Like in terms of that like degree sliding scale, in order to like see some benefits and actually put all that load in a place where the prices are lower. Yeah, then you do need to go into the free nights and weekends, like 10-degree pre-cooler preheat to really like avoid that, to avoid the possibility of dumping that load in a high price period immediately prior to the even higher price period. So we've kind of gone away from, we haven't ditched it completely, but the preheat and pre-cooler, we use it like very judiciously, and it's not like it was not working when we were using it before. So I like kind of inherited a program, put it away. And then in terms of, yeah, we do solar stuff too. There's a little bit of solar. So yeah, ask questions about the thermostats too. It's like, frankly, I think like a more interesting mathematical problem because the EV, you have a ton of control and it's like pretty binary. The thermostat's like a lot weirder, right? There's a bunch of thermodynamic uncertainty and variability across the houses. So yeah, I have like thoughts on it if you want to ask them after, but just wanted to like whet your appetite there. Yeah, I guess I'll just share this.
Yeah, you see you have two. accounts.
Yeah, I've got, I think I'm signed on 3 times. 'Cause I got 2 different app demos. And I wanted to like make that transition smooth for you guys. Yeah, I mean, pretty
Yeah,
simple.
when your presentation shows
I'll-
up, we'll put it on the screen.
Okay, yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's like a pretty boring PowerPoint. It's not, it's about the words, not about it's about the pictures. Yeah, we'll get this thing go. Okay, you guys got it. Cool. Yeah, so my name's Ryan Callahan. I'm currently the EV product manager at Gexa. We do basically the same thing that Chris does. We got the same kind of platform, got the same stuff. A lot of other companies are doing it too. So fairly redundant with the kind of baseline of what's happening. Just like quickly about me, I don't have a decade of experience in the space. I worked for NSA for 8 years, and then I was like putting my math to a use that I didn't want to be putting it to. So now I'm putting it towards trying to decrease emissions and like help the environment and planet and stuff. So now we are at Gexa, we're doing something pretty similar to what's happening at Octopus, right? We're doing it with solar panels, but really battery storage attached to solar panels, as well as smart thermostats and EVs, right? And basically managing these devices in a way that shifts their load and puts it in a place that's better for the environment, better for the grid, better for the customer, right? And then set up a big incentive structure for the customer to like basically say thank you to them for letting us make those changes. And we try to minimize, right? And also give them a great app experience to minimize that discomfort that they're taking on by letting us manage their device. So right, we'll like kind of focus on the EV thing first. So we have 2 kind of like different styles with the EV, with like the EV offering. The first one is based on like the assumption that the customer can handle their Tesla app or their VW app or their Ford app really well. And they know, and like scheduling charging is really straightforward. They don't need us. They don't want us. And so we just tell them, hey, your window is between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. and we're going to give you a massive discount for whatever charging you do put in that window. So, right, they pair to our platform, which we call NextEra 360 because Gexa is a subsidiary of NextEra. And then we watch their charging, and all the charging that occurs between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m., right, we apply a massive discount to it. We've got a bunch of cars that we can do that to. This is combination of someone like lighter touch, someone who maybe doesn't want us fooling around with their charging, right? All we're doing is watching when we're just evaluating their plug-in stat, right? They pair in the sense that we can see their plug-in status, charging status, their SOC, and we can disaggregate their load, and then we can use that, right? And then we can apply a different rate to that disaggregated load. The second flavor is the kind of like our equivalent of the like kind of managed charging that Chris was talking about, right? So they're pairing to our platform, they're pairing Kraken's and NextEra 360, I mean Kraken's, so they're just like a synonymous in this case. I'm not like trying to say one's better or worse. Right, and so then we're letting the customer is then letting us decide when to charge the car. Same window, slightly more discount because within that 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. window, we get to like play with when we put when we assign their charging, schedule their charging. And that can make us a little more money. We can do some things to make it a little bit better for the environment. So we give them a slightly larger discount on the charging that occurs in that period. Fewer cars are eligible for that, right? We have to be able to actually send a start and stop charge command to the car in order to act on that program. This is just right. So, I mean, this is just like a visual, right? I mean, so these cars have all those like SOC, right? And so these are useless screenshots because it's just like a couple cars, right? We're not using that many data points, right? This is just to dig into the data points that we use for our to kind of like make those decisions. So from the cars, we just have their battery percentage, their plug-in status, charging status, and their location, so that we can see whether they're plugged in at home or not, right? Because if we're going to be disaggregating load and applying a discount, then we need to know whether the car is charging at a public charger or at their home. And then we just get basic information about the vehicle, but the kind of like the secret sauce is not this stuff, right? data on the car is like very straightforward. It's those decisions that decide when to charge the car. So we use a combination of customer inputs and obviously like a massive machine learning model that decides when prices are going to be lowest, what emissions are, what the like emission stack on the grid is, as well as the primary constraint of maximizing the amount of charging that has an 85% discount applied to it. And so then what we do, on the kind of minimizing the discomfort side, what we do is we give the customer the ability to like set their preferences, just as Chris talked about with Kraken, They set their minimum and maximum charge percentage. I'll talk about the minimum charge percentage because I think that's like something that was like a little tweak that we've done to kind of most of the managed charging pilots around the country, as well as their departure time each day, And then they kind of get this app where they can see in the Gexa app where they can see kind of what's happening to their car, and they can, if we're conducting our managed charging, and they tell us like, hey, step off for the day, They can click the button, and they can just tell us, hey, turn off the charge, like turn off our smart charging, and then just let your EV and EV charger settings kind of take over. The one little tweak, that is maybe different from some of the managed charging things that you've heard of is the minimum charge percentage. So what they're telling us is if I plug in and I'm under 20%, I want you to charge me to 20% immediately. No questions asked. Don't fool around with it. Don't wait until the middle of the night. Don't wait until it's greenest, because I don't feel comfortable unless I have 20% battery in my car, so that I can get to the hospital, to the grocery store, pick up my kids, whatever, like emergency, or just like general comfort and like range anxiety in your neighborhood. So that's kind of like give me that, and then you can fool around with my charging between the min and the max, between 20 and 100%, in order to kind of like in order to help me save money, the customer save money, as well as to help yourself save money and save the planet. This is just different ways, So this is kind of like different settings, So the customer can kind of see what's going on. We give them real-time charging stats, all this stuff. So this is obviously like available through your car. I don't really care about this. You can look at this in your car app, and we're just replicating it so that it's all kind of in one integrated place. Where an energy company can help a little bit, is we know how that EV charging cost integrates with your bill. So we have, we're letting them know how much they charge, the times that they charged, how much it cost each day. And you can kind of move through all those stats, as well as how that EV charging is contextualized in your overall household energy usage, on the screen on the right. And then these guys are like a little nod to the solar thing. So we do this with solar stuff, with solar panels and battery storage and smart thermostats too. And just like a couple words, So we offer we offer a net metering plan. You asked about it. Ours, like we offer a couple different net metering plans. I'm assuming that the one-to-one buyback is more interesting to you than the real-time one. No, it's just like a funny joke, We also have a real-time one. And so it's just like balances, I mean, like that has to get eaten somewhere. So you have a one-to-one NEM buyback. You're gonna put a premium on your inflow rate, So it's like you're gonna jack that up, because if your outflow is on average 30 to 35% of your inflow, well, then we're gonna raise that one-to-one, We're gonna make you pay more for the stuff that you do intake. All that to say, it wasn't a knock on a real-time rate. I frankly think that the real-time thing's much more sustainable, or else it's just like a race to the top or bottom. It's just a messier situation. We should be charging real-time rates on net metering, but whatever. Problem with the Florida legislature. In terms of the in terms of what we're doing, So kind of like where we're adding a little extra stuff, is we integrate with your inverter, and then we you can pair your inverter to our platform, and then we can show you stuff through the app. So obviously, like that's free. You don't need to pay for that. There's not really anything going on. This is just like one little side thing, wanted to show you. There's no, like, we're not fooling around with anything, I mean, it's just solar panels. We can't touch it. We've got a whole separate thing for battery storage. I didn't bring that here. That's like kind of another guy's bailiwick. I wouldn't want to steal his thunder, talk about all this stuff, but this is as much mine as it is his. So we get to, I can talk about this and feel fine about it. Basically, all we're doing is this gives us the ability to contextualize your solar stuff with your household load. And it also gives us the ability to let you know if there's something wrong. So we like piloted this, talked to a bunch of customers. And like the big complaint that we got was that people would find out that some or all of their panels were dysfunctional or dirty or whatever, but they wouldn't find out about it until their bill was way higher than they were expecting. And then they found out that their inverter had crapped out or or just like some weird programming thing happened. But then they just lost a month or, by the time they actually looked at their invoice or something, they lost a month and a half of production. So what this does, along with giving customers the ability to view all this stuff in the context of their household electricity usage, is we'll immediately alert them like, hey, we've been plugging your system's production into our model and it doesn't look good. Like, go see whether it got shut off, or like, hey, it's dirty, it needs a cleaning, or hey, like, yeah, you're having some sort of issue where some subset of your panels is not working effectively. So yeah, it's just like kind of a straightforward sideshow. The battery stuff's great. Battery adoption's really low right now. So like, it's fun and cool and sexy mathematically, but in terms of just like impact a lot of customers, there are some people adding batteries in Texas. There are a ton of people putting up solar. There are some people putting in a much smaller number putting in batteries. So the battery's fun. We'll get there. But just in terms of making people's kind of like solar panel experience a little better, this is what we're bringing to the table. I think that's probably good. I mean, it's like, again, pretty redundant with what Chris said, because we're offering really similar products. So you can kind of just ask questions and we can go from there. I guess I can show you. I mean, I don't know. I already showed if you, I can just like go through the app in real time, but it's all kind of the same as these screens. So I guess we'll go through the sec. As long as it's working. Yeah, I think of questions. We got about 45 seconds left until I'm done. Yeah. So right. This is what we were talking. This is what we were. Oh, it's not. Yep. No, we were good. Yeah, so this is what I showed you guys kind of with the EV page, right? So you get your right on your like Gexa main dashboard, right? You've got all your stuff, and as you would for your electricity company app. And then we've got this little widget here that shows, right, kind of like your plugin status and your SOC. So you can click into that, right? And then you get your right. He's driving, he needs to charge. And then boy, and so then you can like opt out, right, and like click into this thing, right, and say like turn off charging. So if he were plugged in, and hopefully his minimum is above 5, but if he were plugged in and his minimum that he'd set was like 2 or something, then the thing wouldn't be charging. He'd say like, hey, I'm at 5, I need to go. So he'd click turn off. We're not going to do that to him. Right, and then he can obviously always change those things at any time, right? Changes 20 to 30 or 40, right? Because he's feeling, or he can change this to 90 because he's been hitting his battery with a little too much heat lately. And then you can kind of move into your history section where you kind of get to view how much charging you've done each day, how much it costs. You can click into it, how long it was. Look at the if we can move this guy, you can kind of get your chronological view of the charging sessions. And right, that's just kind of like, again, in the context of, we're trying to put all that in the context of the customer's overall electricity usage, because that's more fun than kind of having to like cross-reference what's going on in your Tesla app or your VW app with what you're seeing in your energy app, right? So kind of same thing, right? Now we've kind of laid it in with the overall household usage, and you can kind of click into the days and see what you're and look at that comparison. So anyways, that's all. You can ask them. That was a little long. Yeah, feel free to like ask questions, or if you have if you don't want to ask them now, you can send them later.
Anyway, I see both Gexa and OctoEnergy. As a matter of fact, most of these retail electricity providers, you see EV plans and you see solar plans, but you don't see solar and EV plans.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on that from both of you guys?
Yep. So we're getting there. We've got that in, kind of in development. So you'd have a net meter. Yeah, basically, yeah, it's going to be an EV plan. And then just if you net meter, then you can net meter. Right? If you net meter, then we'll pay you back. I mean, that'll be the first iteration. What else are you thinking of? Are you thinking of integration with both device, like having the ability to pair both of the devices as part of the plan? Or are you thinking of having a time of use rate that's like friendly to a solar customer, but then you get discounted EV charging? What do you like? I'd be happy to hear, like, yeah, what are you thinking of when you're talking about combining them?
In springtime, when the load on the entire grid is not that great,
Mhm.
but when solar production is high, and I'm getting a time of use payback that's very low, it might benefit me to use that excess solar to charge the car. So as opposed to in the middle of August, when the time of use rates are very high, it'd be better to export the solar and then charge the vehicle at night.
Yep. Yeah. So, yep. So the kind of having the, that's great. Yeah. Yeah. So we're talking about having our platform talk to your multiple devices in an intelligent way, in a synchronized way, rather than talking to them like individually. Yeah. So in terms of the plan that we're going to have, right, we will have basically an integrate, right, we'll have a time of use structure for all of your use. Right, if you have solar panels and EV, we put you on a time of use rate that is not just disaggregated load like we talked about, right? Because we're going to want it, because now we're dealing with the ability to shift. Basically, you have a battery at your house. Yeah, and our platform already does talk intelligently. So if you were to have both of them on this, if you are one of our customers who has your solar system hooked up to a pair, your battery, your solar system hooked up to our platform, as well as your EV hooked up to our platform, it will manage them intelligently. But the electricity plan that you're on it hasn't caught up yet, where we're kind of helping you with both of them. So it would do what you just said, basically figure out that it's cheapest for you to have your car charged off of the solar, right? So if it happened to be plugged in the afternoon, but you're right, we're not offering a solar plus EV electricity plan that like says thank you to both of them. It's just that our platform would figure that out, but it would only figure it out under the constriction, under the structure that your plan has, which right now we don't have one that's really ready to help you in both ways. Does that make sense? I know it's
so some way to guide the customer a little better for these three options, right? The customer that is only consuming,
Mhm.
the customer that has EVs or one EV,
Yep,
then multiple EVs, then the customer that has EVs and solar, and then the customer that has EVs, solar, and storage, fixed storage. Because you're going to have a combination of all of that. And if you can give value to each one of those groups based on what they're giving you value with, that would be attractive. Like right now, I open up, the website or the app, and it says, choose your best plan, but it doesn't guide me as to what the best plan is for me. It says, here's our EV plans, here's our solar plans.
Yep.
So if we can, as customers, get some guidance on that, I think it'd be attractive.
yep, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we are. Yeah, our offerings, our customer facing offerings have not caught up with our back end optimization, and we need to do that. So that's a great, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're trying, and I thank you for flagging our shortcomings.
You just need it.
The world's getting more complex because, as you said, Kevin, between the springtime and the summer, want the power to flow differently to optimize, what source of power, because in the summer, we know more fossil fuels get burned because there's more overall demand. In the spring and fall, it's shoulder season. We can use more of the wind and solar and burn fewer fossil fuels, but you want to do that also in consideration of what your own home usages and car usages. So, Jason.
So I really like the solar monitoring idea. I actually had that exact scenario happen to me. I blew a fuse on my solar setup. And I went a month until I noticed it on the bill before, because the monitoring setup had stopped reporting.
Yep.
So it had stopped a couple of months earlier, and the one they installed with it. Yeah. Anyway.
And you weren't told that the monitoring had stopped or
Exactly. Yeah,
it
I got
wasn't
no
in an
notification
obvious
the
place.
monitoring is stopped.
Yep,
So
yep.
I was curious how you avoid false negatives where, because you get alarm fatigue where if you get so many notifications, hey, something's a little wrong with your solar and it's fine every time. Then
Yep.
you
Yeah.
ignore the
Yeah.
alarm.
So yeah, we're practicing. Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of machine learning, right? It gets better with larger sample size. Yeah. And we're just like yeah, we deliberately trip it. We deliberately take off some panels offline to teach it, right? Because we have a bunch of prototype sites, and yeah, we're getting better. Yeah, we still have false negatives. Everyone has them. Right. We're just trying to. Yeah, we're trying to get better by adding more real customers and by beating the thing up so that we don't have a boy who cried wolf, so that we don't have many boys crying wolf. But yeah, that's a good. Yeah, we're just kind of like. No, we don't. And it's, our testing's not great. I mean, it is, but it's all manual, right? I mean, yeah, we're not throwing, right? I mean, like we'll cover up the panels with blankets, but that's not a tornado.
To your presentation about the panels, just the notification from the electric company, there might be something wrong with your panels.
They're not there.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the status of your industry / service line with regards to the legislative process and lobbying?
That's a big question. What I care about most and like kind of what I pay attention to is I mean, right, the potential to have some of the more innovative markets that exist in CAISO in California, kind of like come to Texas. I mean, basically, yeah, they've made it. It's mess to get your virtual power plant, like making money and getting it plugged into stuff and like kind of getting it realizing value is harder here. And so what I pay attention to is who's pushing for that, who's asking for it, what bills are available, so that virtual power plants aren't like a Wild West where you're just like trying to get it into these small number of markets and eke value out of it, when like clearly Texas has some capacity, it has some capacity problems, has some congestion problems. But that's I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for or more around the like rate structure kind of stuff. The virtual power plant thing's more interesting to me, so that's what I care about. Yeah, I don't like the what's required in the bill, will RTP products come back, and so will index products come back in some modified, like kind of protected guardrailed form. I don't care as much about that. So if you're asking about VPPs, yeah, they're not doing it, and I want them to, because it's a lot more fun to do this stuff in California than it is to do in Texas right now.
For that big piece, but just in general, maybe Gexa Energy wants to do some lobbying, because we hear about the Texas legislature's lobbyists. We know which industry is.
Yeah, we do plenty of that in Florida. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I can't. I can't talk about that. Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. Appreciate the chat. Yeah, I'll see what I can do. No, yeah, no. I mean, but yeah, there's they do a lot of stuff in a lot of states. Sorry. Yeah. Next. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Another question. So on the timing of, your departure time in the morning, is there any kind of calendar integration where I could look ahead and see, oh, I've got a hotel reservation in like the next city over, I should charge to 100% tomorrow.
That would be fun. Yeah, we're not there yet. Yeah, we're not doing that. It'd be awesome. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. It's a good idea. I'll think about it. I hadn't thought about that. I mean, thought about like variations on that theme, but no, we're not doing that. We're not pursuing it.
Don't do it if you see the flight on my calendar. So
Yeah. We're not.
The last question, and this is more of an open request to either of you guys. I would absolutely love my fast charging to go on my electric bill and be able to maybe have a card or a NFC on my phone that I just tap on any charger in the United States. I don't have to worry about 20 different apps. I can just tap it, charging starts, and I get the bill at the end of the month.
Yeah, we have that in Europe. It's called Electroverse.
Bring it here.
Yeah, so that's roaming challenges. About the one place to pay for your public charging. So we have the capability to do that. I'm working on bringing that over right now. We have something like 90% coverage of all public charging in the UK and surrounding countries on Electroverse. Effectively, what it is right now it's an app, a card that you can pay with at the pump. We just launched that you can do it without a card. So like with your Tesla, when you show up to a supercharger, you just plug in your vehicle and it will charge for you. The next step is bringing that onto your energy bill. So we've got all the technology in place there. We've got the on-bill stuff, ready to go here. We have some unique challenges in the US, one, because like we're just massive. We're massive. We have some very protective, I'd say, like players in the space, and roaming. There's some roaming challenges. I think, and I don't know if this is working. Oh, there it is. But yeah, so we want to do it and here, and I'm planning to hopefully do that, at least have it up by the end of the year.
And answer the question. So they're doing it in Florida, right? So FPL in Florida, right? Our mother ship is doing it, but they own their own chargers, so it's kind of straightforward. Right? If you own the charger and you own the home and you installed the home charger, and you're the regulated utility, it's a lot easier. So you also own the supply, right? You also own the supply at the site of the public charger. All that becomes a lot easier. Yeah, we're pursuing it. It's just obviously a lot harder to do it here.
With this managed charging stuff, it's fun to ask, like, see what y'all doing. I like the power button. I think that's like very intuitive, clear. One thing we don't have a clear answer on this, and I don't even know if you do, but every time someone hits that, that's potentially someone charging outside of a window, outside of the optimal time. Do y'all have a limit on how many times you can hit that button?
So it's just like, yeah, this fun stuff that I normally don't have. Happy. Yeah, let's talk about it. Everyone likes this. Yeah, so our product that is out there right now has a flat monthly credit like yours does. And the two shortcomings of that are that if someone keeps clicking that, then they're not giving us the benefit of the $25 a month that we gave. We're saying thank you for nothing because they're deciding when to charge it. And they could also charge at home. And so like all the time, or charge at work all the time. And so even if they have a charger at home, the incentive isn't proportional to how much value they're offering us. So that's why what we've done, we've moved it into the rate discount so that if they do that, that's fine. Then you're charging it at your more expensive rate. And if you let it, and so you're kind of, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because we didn't share the value via a flat monthly bill credit. We shared it via a rate discount so that you have to, it's just, hey, however much you play, you get paid. And if you don't want to play and you want to keep hitting the power button, that's fine. You just charge at the more expensive rate. Yeah, so yeah, we started with the same thing, right? And we were getting a little frustrated by frankly, almost everybody, just lets the thing roll. But the couple people who click the button, click it all the time. And so I think they feel good about themselves. They get their monthly bill credit, and then they click the power button all the time and charge at 4 p.m. It's just like, so I'm like, okay, we have to mitigate against this, because like people will find the loopholes and cool their house to 50 degrees on Sunday night. And they'll charge their car at 4 p.m. while still getting the monthly discount of nominally being on our smart charging service, because they just keep opting out of it every time. So we struggle with it. We try to do it. We'll see if someone will come up with something else. But yeah, so we tried.
I mean, it's for someone who's working in it, it makes sense. Like, yeah, you've got to deal with those people who are going to hit the button. That is the minority, obviously, of customers.
Yep. Yeah, it's the same thing with our thermostat program, right? Yeah, same thing. Yes, yeah, we had a thing that was basically a benefit like you, because we always let people, right? We never want to lock, we don't lock thermostats, right? I'm assuming, I don't think you guys do either, right? Yeah, we don't lock thermostats. We move the set point. You can always move it back. But we used to say thank you with a flat rate for the summer. Like, hey, you let us move your set point up to 4 degrees. We're giving you this money, right? Well, then let's keep moving it back, right? So now we've set it up in a way where you get where your benefit is associated with each event. And so it's not even a like threshold. It's just each event that you let us do, each event that you let run to its conclusion, you get rewards for that. If you don't, that's fine. You can do whatever you want. We don't get any rewards for it. So same kind of thing.
And I could see where you got it. No. It's fine. I just thought of another scenario. You know, you have multiple people in a household and maybe one member of the household has signed up for a plan. You also want to keep other members of the household cool. And yeah, smart people know, you know, when not to fight other household members. And so, you know, they may have been thinking good thoughts when they signed up for it, but they also want to live peaceably with their family members. So that's why, yeah, exactly. Make it play out so that if they're not taking advantage of it, may not be their own choice. Like I said, family members will be family members that they have to go with it. So yeah, flat rate obviously makes it simple and everybody likes a big, you know, well, we'll take $30 off your monthly bill, but you got to look at
better approach. The flat per month rebate is almost certainly the better pitch, especially in an environment where there's competition, where there's brand competition, right? It's one thing if you're you can get more creative and you can be like, you can kind of be a little bit more selfish if you're a regulated utility, right? Because someone's not right there. The stickiness doesn't matter there. So it's just like program buy-in. So you can probably get a little, but here you got to you have to attract people with that. And the flat monthly credit is a more attractive offer than this kind of esoteric rewards program rate thing that you don't know what it is. So yeah, we're trying to figure that out. Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. It's not my game. I like coding, but sometimes you got to sell stuff. So yeah, so I'll put this back. If you guys have any other questions, yeah, great.
Yeah, so since both of you guys are thinking about this essentially all the time, what I'm wondering is if you start to get into so much like looking out in 50 to 100 years from now, you guys are getting so close on, I imagine, the frequency over time, right? Like the delta frequency of the grid structure. It is getting, I imagine, better, right? After the last freeze. But is it going to create, is everyone's machine learning model? Because Google has, Apple has their software update that they pushed out for everyone's iPhones to have like certain charging curves, right, that are the most efficient and climate controlled. And Microsoft pushed out an update on some laptops that also does the same thing for optimizing on the cleanest time to charge. So as the grid normalizes, is it going to be almost more dangerous in the future, or always going to be more stable than it was at this time because of the randomness that is kind of occurring right now? Is randomness a little bit safer, or is everyone's machine learning model doing the same basic calculations more dangerous for a catastrophic event, I guess?
So I actually have a thought on that. So there's a lot of load on the grid that we can't shift, right? Laptop charging, sure, that can happen whenever. Air conditioning is never moving. Your air conditioning is such a much huger portion of our electricity consumption than laptop charging.
Yeah, a lot of inputs. Yep, it takes into account temperature, humidity, a bunch of meteorological factors, as well as grid stack, as well as grid performance, as well. Grid outages, as well as a bunch of other observations of past curves from our customers. But yeah, it takes so
But
okay.
I mean, even taking all that into account, industrial uses of electricity are not
Yep.
shifting, right? So your base load on the grid is not, you're not going to be at any danger of that moving around. So at best, we're flattening the grid curve, right? And that's like the best case scenario, or just matching it exactly with demand. Because if we're going to renewables, those have variable load generate or power generation anyway. So if you can match the load to the power generation and do that dynamically throughout the course of the day, depending on whether the sun's shining and the wind's blowing, then you're golden. And so by putting these systems in place, like what these guys are doing and what Microsoft and Apple and anyone else is doing, you're building a system that can take advantage of a variable generation capacity grid, and potentially even respond in real time to signals from the generation facilities to say, we need extra capacity because or extra load because we're generating extra capacity right now, and just, match it in real time like that.
Yeah, I'd say there's like a high level answer is that there are there are blobs of demand and generation that still like shape this thing way more than all this stuff combined. So you've got your solar curve, right? For in states where there's solar generation, that matters. You've got your wind stuff. You've got your wind stuff that tends that tends to be concentrated in certain parts of the day, but obviously a lot less consistent than the solar. And you've got your air conditioning, and you've got your air conditioning in that mid afternoon slot, and that stuff is like getting stuff aligned with that is, if everyone aligns with that, over alignment with that is in my opinion like not a problem yet, and it won't be, and it won't, the switch won't flip from being not a problem, over alignment being no problem, to over alignment being a huge problem. So if you're talking, if the thing's just switches and it's just me in my head and my ideas, yeah, and I'm just like thinking and telling it to do that, yes, that'd be a problem. But those machine learning models will watch that slowly shift, right? The EVs aren't all coming online at once. They're out coming online over time. That solar generation and wind generation are coming onto the grid like over time. And so everyone's machine learning models, like I think machine learning gets over applied a lot, but in this case, it's a thing that'll change slow, like those major blobs of generation and demand, they're going to change and arrive slowly. And the machine learning will match that in terms of putting that load in the best place. So I'm not worried about that problem. And I think the like EV charging at night, creating a new peak is also a misnomer. Like you can spread that out. Yeah, you can spread that out really easily. It's like a pretty straightforward. It's a pretty straightforward problem that you don't even need machine learning for to like address. It's like basic computation, but it's an awesome question. Yeah, but this is my opinion. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's actually true, but yeah, I think right now we're very far away from that, and I don't know if we'd ever get to over alignment creating problems. Like I don't see over alignment as a big risk right now. I think there's both because of the unshiftables and because it's a thing that'll happen incrementally, and we can constantly adjust. Our adjustments can be incremental too.
Actually, on that note, some vehicles have the ability to change their charging amperage. Is that something you guys do?
We don't do that. Thought about it, like fooled around with it. We're not doing it now. Which is like, yeah, I mean, I came to minimize them. Like, it's probably too much. It's probably a little bit too much of my priorities. Like, I just want to minimize emissions as much as possible, as quickly as possible. And I don't think that's the biggest bang for our buck, so we're not doing it. Yeah, if you like bring compelling case, if I see something where it makes sense, where that's going to help us more than the stuff we're working on right now, then I would shift to it immediately. But just in the priorities of minimizing emissions, it just it's not, it doesn't feel as important.
Consumer side.
Yeah. So you change your car's charge curve, or you change it down to 12. Yeah, change it down to 12 amps, and yeah, I guess if you have a bunch of cars, right?
You're just talking about just
the first hour.
yeah. No, but you're talking about treating right. So you could charge half of them in hour one, half of them in hour two, or you could charge all of them at half the rate, and so then you're getting the same. But it's the same from our trading desk's perspective, but it's nicer to your EV battery. It's nicer to your car.
Yeah, but at the charge rate on your home charger, it doesn't.
That's what. Okay. Yeah. No. That's. Yeah. So sorry. I implied in my statement was that the difference between a 50 amp, 40 amp, 30 amp isn't doing it right. Like, yeah, if someone had a fast charger and they were cooking their battery, like, yes, then this would matter. But yeah, we're right. I mean, yeah. No. So, yeah.
Some people's cars and
Yeah.
things like that.
Shoot. Sorry. Missed. Okay. Yeah.
You have something?
Yeah.
You did remind me of one thing, just, you're talking, Frank, and I think maybe you're gonna end up wanting to work for one of these companies when you're done with school, but, when I first got out to Arizona and had a power plant at a house, I found out something I didn't know. There is such a thing as super off-peak. It runs from November through April, the middle of the day, i.e. when there's a lot of solar generation, but there's not so much demand because there's not that much electric heating. There's a lot more gas. So it's not like the summer air conditioning season. This was November to April. They were selling electricity to people for their houses. I think it was like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. or something like that for 3 or 4 cents a kilowatt hour. And they called it super off peak, which sounds pretty super, but it just shows you, we talked about what's not movable. And there's obviously not as much batteries on the grid now as we would all like to have. And so what's the power company do? They've got all this solar because there's been solar put all over in many places, including in Arizona, but they just reduce the rates way down to get people to use more electricity in the middle of the wintertime daytimes. Yeah.
So that's last thing. Yeah. I think I would get the blinking the red light, or whatever they do at the Oscars. It's red something. Yeah. So that like the thing that I'm like my concern, yeah, music, whatever. And that's not red. The thing that, right. Yeah. Lack of battery attachment's great. It's going to be slow in many places in the country. It's not cost effective right now, or it's becoming cost effective really slowly. And so just like creating incentives for people to charge, creating a system where people charge their car in the middle of the day is like really important to match that up with that solar generation. And so that this is like the thing I care about, right? Is getting workplace charging just really workplace charging really matters. People's cars aren't at home. So like we could set up this great thing, right? We could do that too. Like we could do the super cheap, but from an EV owner's perspective, like I'm not home that often, or like I'm either at work or I'm moving around, so I can't really take advantage of that. So putting those super cheap rates into Gexa's commercial contracts with our contracts with office buildings and stuff. That's where like that's not my job. I'm a residential person. Like I do all resi, but that's like in terms of like kind of massive impact really quickly. That's where like super cheap rate for the middle of the day, and maybe disaggregate that and super cheap for the EV charging. And then obviously if they're billing their customer, right, then if it's a free thing where they're offering it as a perk, right, then obviously we're lowering the bar to entry for that commercial customer offering that EV charging as a perk. And if they're billing their employees some rate, right, then obviously then they get to bill them a really, really low rate. So that's what I kind of like care about. Yeah. So we gotta get that into our commercial contracts. And we meaning the like electricity, not Gexa. I mean, not Gexa. Gexa is a small slice of what's happening in Texas. So yeah, TXU and Reliant need to get that into their into their commercial contracts so that it makes more sense for the charging to happen when solar's pumping. So anyways. Yeah. Okay. Any other, are we good? Oh, we got more. Okay, cool. I thought you just like read a haiku or something. Oh, you actually, someone typed this.
Robert does sound a little poetic. Question is really just what your thoughts are when you've got those. I don't know. I like how you.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's. We do have a couple customers who are, WD, they're load profile, right? So you're like load profile would be PV if it were photovoltaic. It'd be WD, would be your kind of like one of the kind of components of your residential profile. We have 4 or 5 wind customers. So on the resi side, maybe not so much. On the commercial, obviously that it works great. Yeah, I don't do industrial grade generation. It's a really good idea. I just like I certainly shouldn't be speaking into a microphone about it. Sorry, Robert. It's like the second question you've asked where I haven't had a good answer. Anybody else?
Dave, picking up on your super off-peak comment. Okay, from the grid operator standpoint, the reason they're desperate to get rid of that energy that they're getting, that they don't really need that time of year is, of course, grid storage that they obviously did not invest in. And that shows you how much demand there's going to be in the future for grid storage. Does that kind of nullify the benefits of this economic maneuvering that you're doing for the benefit of everybody, I guess, but will the demand for that kind of fluctuation management even exist, 10 years from now? Right. Now, you wouldn't roll out a bunch of solar without grid storage. You won't make that mistake again. Right. Yeah, they benefit from the peak shaving, not you. And that's the thing. If they start having big batteries, big flow batteries or something at the grid scale, there is no peak shaving for you to benefit from. Because they can just match exactly what is necessary, what the demand is, and they don't have to fire up any plants or anything. They can just have it on the battery.
So Robin, yeah, I've kind of thought of that kind of thing. And one of the things I think that APS, Arizona Power Service, is trying to encourage with those super off peak is for somebody who's thinking, hey, I can connect up some batteries and I can buy low and sell high and arbitrage electricity. And the way to get companies interested in putting batteries on the grid and doing that is by offering them the low rates. You charge up when there's all this solar, and then you put the power on the grid in the evening and your company can make money. So I'm thinking that they're pricing it, as you said, they're trying to encourage usage of people drawing electricity when all that excess solar is available during the winter months when it's not being used. It's all being used in the summer because there's lots of air conditioning.
Would describe the motivation of the company being a little bit different, a little bit less
Well,
altruistic.
Yeah.
I think they're just
Well, I
desperate
wouldn't
to
call
get
it
rid of the
altruistic.
energy.
I'd say it's
Is
pure
it-
profit motive that if they can buy at these super off-peak rates, charge up the batteries,
Then
3 hours later in the evening,
Understood.
sell it.
What I'm talking about is from the grid operator that's selling it at this super off peak rate.
So why don't they just do it themselves? I think
Yes.
that they want to do both. First of all, I don't know whether it being a regulated utility, if they're allowed to put batteries on.
That's another.
I mean,
point.
that could be the Arizona law
Yeah,
that,
they could be total
you're
dinosaurs.
not allowed to
regulated
compete.
be dinosaurs.
I mean, that's kind of the idea of usually regulated monopoly. We give you the monopoly to do this, but you can't compete with all these other companies and take advantage of you having this customer base, to do whatever, sell them, kitchen appliances or whatever. But yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, it is, but there's a business model, and some of you have heard me say this before. When we yeah. Some of you have heard me say this before, but I went to one of our HREG meetings, Houston Renewable Energy Group, and they had a speaker who was a real estate attorney. So why do you have a real estate attorney come to a renewable energy group meeting? He was telling us that the hottest properties were to buy an acre next to a substation. Why? Because that's where you put your batteries and you connect it right up and then you're doing the arbitrage of electricity. And so that was the hottest real estate. Most people don't want to sit next to a, build their house next to a nice scenic substation, look out your window and see that view. But that's what he was telling us, is that those properties are the ones selling because there's companies buying them up and putting batteries on them because they knew battery prices were coming down. Buy the land while it's cheap before your competitors want to buy it and get into that business. So it's verified that it's a business out there, but not that I want to do this and some of that kind of buying. So yeah, Kevin.
You got to remember also that there's the utility that owns generation, distribution, and retail, and that, like Austin, for example, or San Antonio.
Right. Mhm.
And then there's the model where those three things are separate.
Right.
Generators are,
Mhm.
and there's a regulatory authority like we have in Texas
Mhm.
that's got a marketplace for all of that.
Yep.
So you have the generators participating,
Mhm.
the distribution is regulated because there's no competition. I can't have multiple sets of wires behind my house. And then the consumption is competitive.
Right. Mhm.
These guys selling it. So
Mhm.
it's, there's more than one business model that can apply depending on how the market's set up.
Yep. Good. So any other questions for Ryan? Or ones people have thought of for Chris? So this is all fun stuff and we're going to visit it again. And we hope that you'll tell us in the future what other good things Gexa and Next Era Energy are doing and things like that. And we will have Bill present his things, but first I'd like to give you a hand. Thank you so much. Both of you guys. This is fun stuff to nerd out on, like you say.
Yeah, my attitude is like, if you have ideas, right, and I'm not trying to sell you guys electricity. I don't really care about that. It's just like, if you have ideas to try to make uptake of this kind of stuff better, so that it's more fun to own an EV or easier to own an EV, right? That's the goal. So the more people get them, and the more people talk about it. So if you have any idea, like, happy to talk anytime, and my email somewhere.
Well, we all know that the quantity of EVs out there being bought up by people are increasing all the time. There's one quick YouTube video I saw that said that something like 27% of people surveyed are considering buying an EV, but as of right now, the US market, which of course is trailing Europe and China and others, it penetration is only 6%. So every 6% out of 100% of new cars sold every month, every day are EVs, and yet 27% of people are considering buying an EV, but they can't buy one because there's not enough out there. So, Bill, you ready? Okay.
Pre-cooling or preheating house in anticipation of a weather event. It just occurred to me, maybe there's an economic opportunity for a new product, namely something that, generates a lot of cold and stores it in water. I don't know how it compares to
Or
the
ice. Yeah.
thermodynamic capacity of a home in cool air, but there might be a economic, I don't think there is such a thing where you have a refrigerator that cools down a large mass of water for later extracting cool hot water. Yeah.
Well, the entire medical center works that way.
Does it?
They-
The medical center works that way.
They've got 2 million gallons of water.
This is
On the body.
This is the Becky VA.
Oh, you're
hospital.
talking about using chillers. Yeah, JSC does that too. It runs chillers, and it doesn't have an air conditioning unit at every building. They just run cold water to.
Chillers. Cool water.
Yeah.
You store the water in a massive thermos.
Uh,
Circulate the cold water or warm water through the HVAC system of a series of buildings. And I don't remember what it's called, but we've got one of the large ones in this country right here at the Texas Medical Center. 80% of the buildings at the Texas Medical Center are cooled and heated that way.
all right. 80% of the medical center buildings are cooled and heated that way. Yeah. Oh, okay. So they do use nighttime electricity to run the compressors and to cool the water and stuff. But I have heard, Bill, back to kind of your question, there are ice systems as well. So systems that produce ice, again, when the electricity is cheap, probably at night, and then you use that to provide cooling during the day. Now, because there's more complexity there, they cost more. And of course, you have to weigh the pros and cons of having a more complex system to provide your cooling. But yeah, that's out there.
homes, love to take advantage of them. So yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, it'd be great to apply it to the resi space. Yeah, just like, it's a big.
Great, yeah. Well, I think we've all seen that AC systems at home. I mean, there's mini split systems. In other words, you don't just do one for your whole house. You may do one for part of a house and another. And I have a friend in League City, and he just put PV on his roof got turned on about a week ago. So he was showing me his charts and everything. He's added a lot of insulation to his attic, and it's a 30, 40-year-old home. So it's had a single system way back when, but he's put in the mini split systems. They don't have the big power draw surge that a lot of compressor systems do. You know, the motor kicks on and you need a big capacitor that often fails, and you have to have the AC person come out and put in a new capacitor for you that looks like a big honking capacitor. Yeah, so the newer systems, they're easier on the electrical systems, and they're more efficient and more variable. I think he said his was 2-stage, so sometimes it's running at lower pressure system and sometimes higher, depending on your cooling needs. And yeah, so the variety with the ice are out there as well too. There's ground source heat pumps. Yeah. Yeah. Right, the ground. Right, yeah. And the child care center at Johnson Space Center has a ground source, yeah, for both heating and cooling. That switch it around depending on the season. Aha, the heat pumps would be good around here, but the natural gas, yeah, fights that, yeah. Yeah, a friend just bought a house in a brand new neighborhood, and all the houses are outfitted with gas. And I kind of wondered, is that, but obviously the gas company said, hey, we want you to put in gas pipes to each and every house of this brand new neighborhood. Yeah, they're going to have electricity at each house too, but we want you to run the gas lines to each house. Climate Town, okay. Climate Town YouTube, okay.
No one cares how you're heating your house, or whether your water heater is gas or electric.
Yeah.
But everyone cares if your stove is gas.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
electric. That's how they get you.
Cares which way. I mean, I've been seeing the ads recently talking about children being exposed to the combustion products from gas stoves, and that you don't want to do that. And of course, the old saying from 20, 30 years ago is, hey, we're cooking with gas now.
It's completely manufactured by the natural gas companies.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So pass the mic. Yeah.
It's called the Thermal Energy Corporation. TECO combined heat and power plant operates at 72% efficiency, more than twice as efficient as standard power plants.
Yeah.
A thermal unit. So coal or gas.
Okay. Good. Okay. We're ready to wrap up that topic. Bill, do you want to say something else before Bill, you're up for, you're ready to be up. Okay. So yeah, let me call up your pictures. You can take the mic and.
So Kevin and I and Mark Sullivan did an experiment. I don't know what prompted us to do it, but we learned.
Well, actually, Mark Sullivan told us that we weren't going to tear anything up. Have you gotten this inverter working again? Okay. So what we did was we took, I have a 13, well, it's actually a 11 kilowatt. It's 11.4 kilowatt solar edge inverter with 13.8 6 kilowatts of solar panels on the house. And what we did was we connected, we shut off everything. And the idea was if we supplied a signal, a grid signal to the Solar Edge inverter, would it come on?
So let me describe this right here. In that box, there's a 2,000-watt single phase inverter. So we're feeding lithium power to it. Box on the lower right is a auto transformer. We needed to generate 240-volt single phase, and that's what the auto transformer did. Go ahead, Kevin.
So, yeah, so then we, what we found out is that if you supply 240 volts, 60 hertz to a grid tied inverter that's not grid tied, it will come on. And it will start to generate power up to the capacity of the solar. Unfortunately, the internal resistance of Bill's 2,000 or 3,000 watt inverter was not high enough to not be overpowered by the Solar Edge inverter.
Power that his system was trying to feed back to the grid, and that is the grid, overwhelmed that. And we learned the following, namely that in order to export power, the solar voltage has to be higher than the grid voltage. So his solar system kept increasing the voltage to export power, and it overwhelmed the capacitor in that unit there. We replaced the capacitor at the same time, but
The number is 256 volts.
40 plus 24.
Plus 24.
10%.
Right, right.
Well, that would be 242.
264.
Or
Maybe it is 264. Yeah.
solar systems operating that way. So had the capacitor to build it, I don't think
We haven't determined that yet. That's our next experiment. Although Mr. Sullivan is gonna, well, he's got an SMA, and he's going to replicate this. So we're gonna find out if that's the question.
unless this guy Sullivan is also intensely involved with EV charging. Namely, he understands the signal that happens between EV charger. He understands the signal that goes between the EV charger and the car, the EVSE in the car, to determine how much power to send to the car. And it may well be that he comes up with a system to where I think this was the impetus for doing this experiment, because Kevin would rather not pay excess charges from his energy supplier. And so if you can put the solar into the car, and I know somebody said that Solar Edge already does this. They have a system that interfaces with an EV.
Well, it will charge the EV through an EVSE that's on the inverter in accordance with excess solar. So it can sense in there whether you're going to be exporting to the grid or not. And if it senses that you're exporting to the grid, it will run it through the EVSE into the EV. That's for another. Bill kind of through this presentation. My interest does lie in, everybody's talking about vehicle to grid, but I have an interest in vehicle to load or vehicle to home, where you're So I have, for example, a system on my house called Sense, and I can see it just has a couple of sense loops on the solar and 2 on the mains, and you can see what the house is drawing off of the mains or pushing out the mains, and you can see what the solar is flowing through the solar, and it calculates out what the house load is and gives you a nice graphics display of what all your loads are in the house, because they also use algorithms. A coffee pot has a different electric signature than air conditioning or a motor or a compressor or resistance. And so my interest is in not necessarily exporting power like I said to you, to everybody, to the grid, because we are paying the way that we're set up right now. We're paying for distribution, right? And so we're paying for the electricity and the distribution. But then when we ship it back to the grid, we're not getting paid for distribution, nor do I think we should, because the models are set up where the distribution is paid by the consumer. So because of that great differential, my interest is in taking your excess solar and putting it into battery storage and then using that stored energy back into your home. When your home load exceeds the solar capability, which at night would be 100%. And with more and more, so you've got your fixed storage and you've got your vehicle storage. And so anyways, but that's something I'm not set up to, those are just, ideas that we're organizing, some of us. Anyways, that's it.
Bill, you had these other photos. Did you want to talk about? So he's saying that these photos are inside a Rivian Amazon truck. Yeah. So yeah, the driver knew he was in there. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was really good that you could get his permission, that particular driver's permission, and you could show us how they've got lots of screens to look at, and of course the new Rivian trucks are all pure BEV, battery electric vehicles. So that's great to see them around in the Houston area actually delivering packages. And yeah, there was a third picture, I think, that you sent that, let's see where it's over in the email, maybe. Is this the truck down here? Well, from what I see, there's the back of the truck anyway. I don't know if we had oh, well, I should hit share then. Okay.
Yes, you should share your screen, Dave.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see which one is. Well, should be this one is the inside of the truck. You can see the steering wheel and the screens. There we go. It says now you're sharing. And yeah, so obviously they prominently put Amazon right across the steering wheel there. It doesn't say Rivian on the steering wheel. It says Amazon on the steering wheel. Yeah. So, okay. Very good. Good to have that. All right. Any other couple other pictures? Well, there's oh, you had a video. You wanted to show video? Well, I don't think we got that on the email. That was on the Facebook. So if you could call up the Facebook. And from your computer, you can. Aha. Yeah, so Bill can give a tour of the TXRX labs to folks here in person. Yeah. This will show. It shows the bottom. That's the same one that's in the email. Yeah. It's the image out of the email. Yeah. So, okay. Anything else that folks wanted to bring up? No? Okay. I see the cat in the background jumping on top of the table out there. All right. So good. Glad that everybody could make it either online or in person. So Matt, glad that you're out here and everything and that you're happy with your car. And so we will see everybody here second Thursday in June, working on speakers for that. Ah, very good. So yeah, go to our Houston Electric Vehicle Association Facebook page. You can see Bill's photos and lots of other things there. Of course, great photos from our two deed events, the one on Discovery Green and the one at IKEA. And of course, our recording of tonight's meeting will be available on our Houston EVA YouTube channel. So Google that. All right, if that's it for everybody. Thanks a lot, and we will see you next month. Mhm. Where is it? Yeah.